Let's bring it right now. Jim Cramer, he's, of course, the host of CNBC's Mad Money, and he's the author of Jim Cramer, Stay Mad for Life.
Oh,
Jim.
easy to do.
Can I put a question to Jack?
You sure can. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Jack, why is it that we call a bailout AIG? Why is it that people say it's a bailout Fannie, Freddie, Lehman Brothers just closed? But in every single case, it's a wipeout, not a bailout. The people who worked at Wachovia, they're going to go. Washington Mutual, they're going to go. The execs are all booted. How are these bailouts if everybody's wiped out?
Well, you know, let me give you one bad headline. Barclays guarantees $2.5 billion of loans to layman traders, etc. And when that happens, that sets us back. You're 100% right. But we get headlines. If Barclays buys layman and doesn't keep the people, they bought an airball.
Right,
so
Right, but you and I both know that the people who worked at Lehman, who took stock in Lehman, are pretty much wiped out. And I know that a lot of people made a lot of money in the last 3 years, but being wiped out and unemployed, last I looked, is still a bummer.
No, I agree. And Jim, I am the one that makes people wash their mouth out with soap when I'm on CNBC when they use the word bailout. This is not a bailout. This is a restructuring.
Right. Dead right. Jack's dead right. As always, I hate to follow Jack. You know, I'm a small-time businessman, and he's a large businessman, and he understands the game and has always got it dead right as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, so Jack is saying, Jim, that things are looking pretty grim right now.
Yeah.
He's got it right.
It's not.
It's interesting that he's willing to just call it. I mean, one of the things that really hurt us, I believe, is that, and I think Hank Paulson's a great mind, but how long can you go to Congress and say the fundamentals are sound, things are terrific? How long can Ben Bernanke say, guys, look, the problem's inflation, when we're involved with the most vicious deflationary spiral since the Great Depression, and the fundamentals are the worst that they've been in 80 years? The credibility of those two gentlemen was completely on the line for this, and they had no firepower in the end because of how rosy they've been.
Barnacle, what does this say about our country right now, our leaders in Washington, that if you talk about complex banking issues like this, complex financial issues like this, they're asleep at the switch? The smartest guys, but also intelligence, our intelligence community, time and time again, whether it's 9/11 or WMDs, asleep at the switch. On the biggest issues, our leaders over the past 10 years have been asleep at the switch.
Well, maybe for longer than 10 years, but I'd like Jack Welch and Jim Cramer's reaction to the fact that I don't think it was so much as a lack of intelligence or a lack of not seeing these storm clouds as it was a complete inability, especially on Hank Paulson's part, who I guess is a pretty good guy, to explain what's going on to the American public. Jack Welch, what do you think?
They deserve to know.
No, it was without question the worst sales job known to man. It was a cramped town.
It's true.
But I think he's one hell of a guy.
Yeah.
He's worked his butt off to get this thing going. I like him. I just think he had the touch of a blacksmith.
Yeah.
So
Cramer.
right. This is a guy who comes and he says, listen, the problem is unfreezing the credit markets. Well, the only thing the Americans know to unfreeze is the meat in the freezer. This is a problem of LIBOR. Well, you know, LIBOR is someone's lying and someone's boring. I mean, you cannot use these terms. And this is a problem of foreclosure, kicking people out of their homes, hardworking Americans trying to stay in their homes. This helps them. Did you ever hear that once? Did you ever hear that the mortgages will be owned by the U.S. and they can redo them so that people can pay less interest and stay in their homes? I guess Paulson's never been homeless. I had the rare advantage of living in my car for 6 months. And while I didn't have to pay homeowners insurance, so you got a bargain there, it's really grungy.
But I'll tell you what, I can tell you right now, I'm putting aside money for the future because I'm doing just that. Really am putting it aside for off-track betting. You're
fair odds, much cleaner than the stock market. NFL gambling, cleaner than
NFL gambling. I stay away from it. Yeah, Jack. Yeah.
Joe?
Yes, sir.
I'm dealing with a whole series of small companies. They serve restaurants, they serve the travel industry, and they serve different forms of the construction industry. Every one of them is on their back. Restaurants are closing, going bankrupt. We created 40,000 restaurants in the last 5 years. We're going to close 5 to 6 this year. Things are really, really tough. And people have to communicate. People can't meet payrolls. People, look, and what happens now? It's getting tough, so what do CEOs do? Cut back on people. Cut back on the easiest thing, costs.
Right.
And when you see that happen, you'll be talking in the fourth quarter and the first quarter of next year. Your show will be all around layoffs. How big will they get? Will they ever reach the 81, 82, 10, 11% level? That's what you're going to be talking about if we don't free up credit.
You know, Jack, and finally, we've got to go, but you've written so many books on leadership and management. We've talked about Nancy Pelosi, Hank Paulson. We've talked about a lot of people over the past week that dropped the ball. But the buck always stops with the CEO of a corporation. In this case, the buck has to stop with the President of the United States. And his lack of communication, his inability to be able to tell the American people, to tell the markets, to tell the international investors what was going on, really has had a crippling impact on this economy, hasn't it?
Joe, there's no question, but I have seen for the last month watching you, Joe, that Mika has clearly brought you over to her side.
Oh,
my God.
You have gone over that side.
What
so
side is
far.
that? I'm not a socialist.
No, Jack.
Do I carry around Marx's little red
No.
book?
Is that Lenin on your shoulder that I
that's
see?
not. Let
Lenin
me
on
clear
my
this
shoulder?
up.
What are you
No.
talking
No,
about?
no.
You've got-
Jack, what are you talking about?
You've got Barnacle and Mika both hauling you so far left that you
No.
can barely sit in the chair.
Wait a second.
Jack,
Hold on.
I don't
Now,
want to attack you
Okay,
again,
I have
but
to defend myself here.
but may
Jack,
I?
do you know?
May I?
You can, but I just want to say this to Jack. I'm the only guy that's been on this show still praising the free market. I'm like Bill Clinton. I'm blaming this crisis on Democrats. I believe in the invisible hand. I believe in low taxes. I believe
You
in
talk
low
to me about
regulation.
Mao
I
and the
believe
people
in
are
low
the fish in the
standards.
ocean. Stop quoting Mao to me in the
This is
green
why
room. We all know that
Okay,
you're a
you go ahead.
Maoist.
No, we attack everybody fairly, Jack, and sometimes
Little
it's
stunt.
counter to what box you may think we're in. But I will say, when we put these mics on, we're not conservative or liberal or Democrats or Republicans. We
There
are
you go.
doing our best.
Yeah, Jack, let me tell you about the free market. Joe Scarborough told me all about the free market, and I went into the free market, and coming out of the free market, I got arrested for shoplifting.
Oh, good Lord.
The peanut butter was free.
All right.
Hey, Jack, we missed you.
It's
Come
gotta
back.
be
Go Red Sox,
You know,
Jack.
Barnacle, it only works if it is an invisible hand. They can't see you actually taking the grapefruit.